I'm 54, and I wanted to share something with you guys. Do you see all these bags under my eyes? I'm very self-conscious of them, and I found this, and it works amazing. I just put a little bit on, and I'm only gonna do one side so you can see the difference. Yep. It works amazing, and it tightens and it stays like this all day.
Well, that was impressive. And so in today's video, we're gonna be talking about ways that you can improve your under eye area in mere minutes. Under eye bags, discoloration, those fine lines and wrinkles underneath the eyes, and eye makeup mistakes that you might be making that you don't even know that are making your under eye area look worse. Let's go. This video is divided into 3 parts. First, we'll talk about the new and improved Instant Eye Fix products, tips and tricks, yada yada. Then we'll talk color correcting and concealer. And lastly, I'll share some eye makeup tips for your eye shape. Make sure you check out the description box for timestamps so you can reference back to your fave section. So I tried the viral Peter Thomas Roth Instant Firm X Eye Tightener, way back when, right? And it worked. It helped to smooth and snatch my under eye area. Sometimes I have these fine lines. Sometimes they look a little deeper than fine. They like medium fine or whatever. And it helped tremendously. However, man, boy, was there a learning curve in, getting to use it, because if you use too much and your under eye area could be snatched, but then it'd be ashy AF at the same time. But the brand just came out with a new and improved version that promises no white cast. It's a little bit tinted. It's a lot easier to work with. And I got it, and we're gonna try it out together. But first, a very quick refresher on how these things work. So think of them like shrink wrap film. So these are fast drying film formers, right? As water evaporates, the film contracts like a micro shrink wrap, gently pulling the skin flatter so that the fine lines and mild puffiness look smoother. And sometimes products like this use something that's sometimes colloquially called liquid glass, which helps the film set rigidly as it dries. But friends, you're getting cosmetic physics here, not collagen boosting, okay? Some of them may also contain ingredients like caffeine, which help to temporarily depuff the eye area. And then they may also contain ingredients that give you like a visual blur. Sometimes it might be mica, it might be titanium dioxide. And then they also sprinkle in some ingredients that give an optical blur so that when you look underneath the eye, it's like it scatters the light so the under eye area looks smoother and brighter. Now, this all sounds quite amazing, but it's only gonna last a short time. Typically, through your work day, and if you apply it well and your makeup well, then you'll get it to last throughout the entire day. But this is definitely not something that, over time is going to improve your bags. Like, it might give you a little moisture, or it might help with the puffiness, but it is definitely not going to completely change your under eye area permanently. Which for some people is like, look, I ain't asking for much, just give me what I can. So let's go try it out. All right, so here are my eyes before. Now, I don't have bags, but I do have some fine lines underneath there, which, y'all see that, right? All right, here is what you get. There's the product, there's the brush. I am so glad that they included a brush, because I do believe from the last time I used it, using the original formulation, using it with a brush worked best. And this is a good, if you could see the bristles on the brush, this is a pretty good brush. Sturdy, not like one of those like cheap flimsy little ones that you get in like an eyeshadow palette. That's a pretty decent brush there. Okay, now we are going to follow the directions on this. So cleanse thoroughly. Excess oil or other product residue may lessen the tightening effect, which I have done, but I'm still gonna try to but just a little bit, nothing too crazy underneath here. So I cleansed with the Olay cleansing melt. I used the Olay super serum, which I normally do in my AM routine, which, by the way, if you want to see my AM, my full skincare routine, everything I do to my skin, you can check that out right here. And then I put on, today's sunscreen is the Haru Haru I'm sure my editor's gonna put a little thing on the screen there because I don't remember what it's exactly called, but I know it's by Haru Wonder. So if needed, try gently exfoliating as product may cling to flaky skin and cause white residue. So thankfully I don't have any white residue, we good. Any flaky skin, rather, I should say. Pat skin dry, do not use eye cream or moisturizer. I'll be right back.
A few moments later.
All right, I basically just rinsed off the stuff and, patted dry. All right, shake tube. To control application, squeeze a pea-sized amount on the back of your hand first. Using your fingertip or dry makeup brush, take product from back of hand as needed, starting with a tiny amount. Less is more to avoid white residue. Okay, let me read all the instructions first before I go step by step and then, mess it up. Number 5, spread onto any of the following areas. Underneath the eye to reduce puffiness, okay. Around the eye to smooth crow's feet, okay. Above and below the brow bone for an instant brow lift. And they say to avoid the eyelid. Oh, so you can even, where do they want you to put it? Above and below the brow bone. Okay, I'm gonna try that. 6, if more product is needed, apply quickly while first layer is still wet. Layering onto dry product may result in white residue. 7, stay expressionless for 3 to 7 minutes so product can properly set and dry. If needed, once dry, pat away residue with a damp cotton swab. Okay, so I think we got that down. We're gonna shake the tube. All right, then I'm gonna put the pea-sized amount on the back of my hand. Okay, we're probably not gonna use all of that. Okay, so that's what it looks like. All right, from what I remember, that does look a little more tinted than the last time. The last time I think it was more of like a light pink or peach, I think. All right, so I'm going to do one eye with and one eye without, just so we can see like the, like the before and after. So now also look at my brows because I'm gonna do that brow bone thing, okay? Okay, just a little itty bitty amount. Okay, and then I'm gonna take just the smallest little eensy beensy bit and apply that there. Okay, and then I will sit expressionless for 3 to 7 minutes. Let's do 3 minutes first. 3 minutes on the timer there, and I'm gonna fan also to. I feel like this eye already looks different than this eye. Okay, I want to be careful not to fan too much so that I don't activate my tear ducts. And then, you don't want any tears to affect, oh God, to affect the application. Is there anything? I feel like I see a lift, like the difference in the shape of the eye between this one and this one, but we had to sit expressionless. All right, so this is after 3 minutes. I feel like this eye looks more open. I don't know, am I tripping? But I've already set the timer for an additional 4 minutes because I'm gonna give it the full 7 because I'm not really seeing. Oh, I see the difference a little bit underneath the eyes with the lines. But let's give it the full 7 minutes. All right, so it did something. I feel like I could look into the mirror here and I feel like this eye looks different. It's not like I'm not seeing like a kind of change, but I am definitely seeing where this eye is more, it looks a little bit more lifted. The lines look better. Let me get a little closer so y'all can see. Okay, so I have nothing on this eye. And then we have this eye. So I'm going to do this side off camera. Well, actually, I'll show y'all. All right, so look, this is what can happen if you use too much. So just keep in mind, follow the instructions, follow the instructions, and you'll be all right. All right, there is a little bit of a learning curve, If at first you don't succeed, Dust yourself off and try again. Okay, so we're gonna put the tiny amount there. I don't even think we would need all of that. Okay, then I'm just gonna take a little itty bitty bit. Okay, we're gonna do it above the brow bone. Take another itty bitty bit from right there. Put it below the brow bone. And then take an, oh, I actually need a little bit more. Hey, stop scratching my couch. Take another itty bitty bit, little itty bitty bitty bit. Now remember they said if you need a little bit more, you do it while the product is still wet because it's gonna be hard to, you know, apply. Okay, I think that was enough. All right, so I gave it the 7 minutes on the clock and then we're gonna come back and we'll see.
A few moments later.
All right, so how are we looking? I feel like I see the difference more here. I'm seeing something happening, or something that happened on this side. Now that I've put the lift thing on both sides, I feel like my eyes are even now. I feel like I was not imagining that. Now, the thing is with a product like this, number one, I'm probably not the ideal candidate here, but you know, I try my best to show y'all, you know, a myriad of things. Ideal candidate is probably someone who has a lot more excess skin around the under eye area, you know, bags, puffiness, you know, that sort of thing. So, you know, maybe I'm not the, you know, the best model to put it on, but I do see where it did some things where, you know, if I was very concerned about the lines underneath my eyes, or if I wanted more of like a lift, if I was very concerned with that, I would use it. There is a bit of a learning curve with a product like this. I wouldn't necessarily say that that's like a negative about the product. I think it's just that it's not like something that we're used to. Like if you buy a new moisturizer, chances are you don't have to read the ingredients. You just pop it open and slather it on your face. This is a different kind of product that, you know, a lot of us probably aren't used to using, that we may not use every day. So it may take you some trial and error to figure out what to use this best with, how much you need, what's the best tool to use it with, you know, that sort of thing. So where it says to, you know, not put any eye cream or moisturizer on, there might be people who, you know, the type of eye cream and moisturizer that they use is perfectly fine. They can have their regular sunscreen on underneath and it works perfectly fine with this product. Or you may have people where it's like, oh my God, you know, I had a lot of white residue, or the product never took, or it crumbled, or what have you. So you really have to, you know, thoroughly read the directions, follow the directions, because, you know, sometimes in skincare, certain skincare textures and finishes don't play well with each other. And sometimes they kind of like ball up, or one causes one not to work as well as the other, or they cancel each other out, you know, that sort of thing. So let me know in the comments if you would try a product like this. And if you have you tried the updated one? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, because that's what I can give you here, okay? Because we are a community, and you know, we sometimes reach a wide amount of people, you know, through these videos, and those people have varying opinions and lifestyles and experience and whatnot, and having the ability to get that from each other is paramount. So if you have any experience with this product, good or bad, let us know in the comments. Okay, now let's move on. All right, now we're gonna get into the makeup portion of the video. So in this portion of the video, we're gonna talk about color correcting, concealers, do you need powder, do you not put powder, and then we're also going to talk about some tips and tricks when it comes to eye makeup. If you wear eye makeup, if you don't, you know, maybe you just watch it for, you know, to tell your friends, okay? But when it comes to your eye shape, there might be things that you're doing inadvertently, okay? You don't even realize you're doing it, and it's making your under eye area look worse. So we're gonna go over some quick tips and tricks for your eye shape to balance it, make things look good, so you can avoid things that, you know, make it look bad. So let's go. Now, color correcting. Do y'all remember there was that brief time in, I wanna say the mid to late 2010s, where color correcting was a trend? And I was like, this is such a weird thing to be a trend, because not everybody's gonna need to color correct, okay? And it was kind of weird because it's like, why is color correcting a trend? Not everybody needs to color correct. And then two, why are we doing these color correcting kits with all these colors that not everybody's gonna need to use? Like, it was a weird time. okay? Now, there are a lot of concealers out there that can get the job done of covering discoloration where you don't need to color correct, but some people, you know, they feel like maybe their concealer is not really doing the trick. They want to color correct, or for some people, you know, they just like to color correct. You know, if that's you, who am I to tell you what to do, okay? So I'm gonna color correct on one side and then not on the other, and then you can kind of, you know, clock the difference if you can. So this is the Fenty Beauty Bright Fix Eye Brightener in Pumpkin, and just so you can see, this is how the product looks. There's the dispenser. See, look at all of that white residue in my hand. That's what happens when you use too much of the Peter Thomas Roth. But with color corrector, much like that Peter Thomas Roth, you want to use the smallest amounts. I'm just gonna put it on the back of my hand so I have a little bit more control. And of course I got it on the, oh Lord, on the sleeve of my shirt. Now the concealer brush that I'm using here is the Pro Concealer number 57 from Sephora collection. And we're just gonna take the smallest little dab there. Now I do like to let it sit for a little bit. Let it get a little, you know, let it cook for a little bit. Probably do a little more. And you want to be careful to dab, especially if you're using that Peter Thomas Roth product, because you don't want to disrupt that product. So I'm just gonna let that sit just for a little bit. Now, again, back up so you can see my mouth as I'm talking to you. Again, folks, when it comes to color corrector, very little goes a long way. You don't want to put too much because you are going to have that color corrector overpowering your complexion. Whatever you put on top of it, the orange is just going to be like, brr, 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 brr. Okay? Now, speaking of orange, when it comes to color correcting, what shade do you use, right? It depends on your skin tone. So overall, peachy, orange, red orange shades are what you're gonna use for under the eyes for discoloration, especially if the discoloration is like a dark brown, if it's like blue, depending on your skin tone, that's how discoloration shows up. If you have a deeper skin tone, you want your color corrector to be more of an orange, and the deeper your skin, the deeper that orange is gonna be, to where maybe the deepest of skin is wearing something like a very red orange, okay? So this is the shade that I'm using. For reference, I'm a Fenty 445. In NARS, I wear Iguazu, I believe, right? In the Ilia foundation, I wear the... Okay, I can't think of what shades I wear in various foundations, so I am a dark brown with neutral undertones, okay? So hopefully that, you know, that helps. But yeah, I think this is set enough. So I think we can kind of blend it in, but when we blend, we are just kind of pressing the product in. And I think I got a little too much going up in there, but we shall see. Okay, and you can kind of see how that canceled out that discoloration there. And then we're gonna put the concealer on. Sometimes what I do lately is I'll use a little bit of powder to set the corrector, because I have found that sometimes it kind of gets moved around once I put the concealer on. So I'm gonna add a little powder. This is the Laura Mercier translucent powder in medium deep. I'm just gonna take, usually I would take a smaller brush than this, but I'm just gonna take the smallest amount of powder and just kind of tap right there. Okay. All right, so now is when we would put the concealer on. And for a lot of people, concealer might be all you need. However, if you pick the wrong concealer, whether it's, you know, the wrong type of coverage, if it's the wrong finish, or if it's the wrong color or undertone, it can make your under eye area look jacked up. It can make you look sick. It can make you look sleepy. It can make you look like you do not want to be where you are at, okay? So we're gonna need to make sure that we carefully pick the right concealer, formula, the shade, in the undertone. Picking a right concealer finish can be a matter of personal preference. It could be based on age. I personally like more of a natural finish or a natural radiant finish. I don't love a super matte concealer for underneath my eyes, just because, you know, the fine lines, and when something's too matte, it can make it look way more apparent. My natural skin has like a nice natural kind of sheen to it, and you know, putting something matte there would be a lot. And especially if you are only using eye makeup, like if you're only gonna color correct underneath your eyes or just put concealer, you want the concealer to kind of match your skin so it doesn't look like, you know, skin and then makeup, you know? So in general, if you just want a natural look, go for a concealer that closely matches your skin tone. So I love the Estee Lauder Double Wear Radiant Concealer. However, Estee Lauder ain't really love it that much because they discontinued it, and you know, I've been holding on tubes of it that I can find. I like this one. This is the shade, I believe, 6C, Extra Deep Cool. For Estee Lauder means red, I believe. And this has quite a warm undertone to it. And I like that because the warmth helps to cancel out the discoloration. So I'm just gonna put this on both sides, and I'm also going to let it sit for a little bit, and before I kind of blend it in. Kind of fan it, but the fan's gonna make my eyes water, and the eyes watering is gonna mess up the makeup. Now, as I wait for this to kind of not dry, but like just give it a couple of minutes, there are thankfully a lot of good concealer brands out there, and a lot of brands have expanded their shade range. So a couple of concealers that I have tried and love, and I might forget a couple, you know, due to memory, but like I mentioned, the Estee Lauder Double Wear Radiant. The Double Wear Regular is too matte for me. Some people might like it, it's just a little too matte for me. But on that note, I also like the House Labs concealer, which I find is good coverage, and it has that nice radiant finish. I also love this Fenty concealer. There are two different Fenty concealers, and I actually like them both. I would say that this one is more for like brightening. So with this one, instead of getting my regular shade 445, I believe this is 470W. So because this is made for more like brightening, when they sent this to me when it first came out, I asked for a deeper shade because the shade that would have been for my complexion would have been like a brightening, and I wanted it to match my complexion, so I got the 470. And the other Fenty concealer, I believe I would use the 450 because the 450 had like a red undertone, which helped to cancel out the discoloration. I don't have it here, but Too Faced has a good concealer. It is the Radiant one. What is it called? The Too Faced Born This Way concealer. I think there's only one formulation, and there might be two formulations in the foundation. The foundation is good too. The foundation, I like the one that has a little bit more radiant wear to it, finish to it. e.l.f. Camo Concealer is another good one. NYX has the serum concealer that we talked about in the makeup dupe video, which you can watch right here. Huda Beauty's Faux Filter, which we also talked about in this video here. NARS makes good concealers. They have the Soft Matte Concealer. I like that one. They also have, I forget the one, it's the NARS concealer. It's liquid and it comes in the tube. There's so many good concealers out there. So basically just kind of look in your price point and look to see brands that have a good shade range. Go in and let have. All right, so I'm gonna blend this out now, again with the 57 Pro Concealer brush from Sephora. And we're dabbing. I find that letting the concealer sit for a little bit gives it makes it a little bit easier for coverage, because look at that. And then you can also, you know, put whatever excess is on the lid, because sometimes the lid will be a little discolored. I kind of feel like the Peter Thomas Roth acted like a really nice primer for this concealer, because my under eyes have never looked this good with just the makeup on. And the makeup, you know, applied, I got a lot more coverage. So this side is no color corrector, and then this side is with color corrector. Now, you know, when y'all looking at this video, you might see some areas where I didn't blend very well. Hands up, I'm caught, okay? But you know, I'm looking at this little itty bitty mirror here, and I can only see me in like the little viewfinder on the camera. If I look a little not blended very well, it's possible. And then I'm just gonna dab a little bit to set that. And just look how now, me personally, I just kind of feel like since I've put concealer on that I would want to put mascara, maybe a little blush or something on. And then all of a sudden I wound up, it's like, oops, I have on a full face of makeup. So it's a little hard for me to simply just put on concealer and go. Now, to me, this looks natural. It did brighten a little bit, but it's not like, like a couple notches up like I would if I had on a full face of makeup where I have on, a much lighter, brighter concealer to kind of bring things out. If you want a little bit of brightening and you want to kind of lift it a little bit, go slightly a shade or two lighter than your skin tone, but you do not want to go too light and bright with your under eye concealer, because you can have the opposite effect where instead of hiding the discoloration, you wind up drawing more attention to it. Because, something that's a little too light, it's like if you fell down and you got a big ass bruise on your thigh, and then you was like, you know what, let me put on some sheer, and you're like my complexion, let me put on some sheer beige tights to cover it up, and it's like, girl, I can still see the bruise. Side note, if you're like, you know what, I want to start wearing eye makeup, but I'm not trying to have like all the eyeshadow palettes and doing the most with the brushes and this and the third and da-da-da-da. I just want it easy. I really like these new Danessa Myricks Color Fix sticks. So this is what the packaging looks like, but it is this dual-sided multicolor use sticks that you can just kind of just put on your eyes. One side is more of like a cream, whereas the other side is more of like a metallic or a shimmery color. So like if you're just like, just an everyday look, you do, the everyday look kind of side. But if you want to add some drama, you do the other side. And if you are someone who likes to do the most with your eye makeup, these are also really cool because then you can give yourself like a little extra shimmer. I'm going to link this in the description along with everything else that is available for you to shop in this video. Now, when it comes to eye makeup, I'm not going to do a whole big thing here, but I am going to give you some easy tips and tricks for your eye shape. Because like I've been saying, you can inadvertently be making yourself look tired and older, and there's nothing wrong with getting older, but why do you want to look decades beyond your time? Now, these are going to come at you pretty quickly. Are y'all ready? You got to catch it, okay? Let's go. Round eyes. The goal here is to elongate. Start the liner at the mid-lid and flick it out. Keep the inner corners bright, and you want to load the mascara on the outer third. Or you can get, some lashes, the ones where it's just like the little three. What do they call those? Are those wispies? No, wispies is you know what I'm talking about, where it's just like the corners and it kind of makes like a little cat eye kind of thing. Basically, with a round eye, you are trying to elongate it to give it more of like a cat eye. So you want to think cat eye. And it doesn't only have to be a cat eye liner. It could also be the placement of your eyeshadow. So if you have your eyeshadow going in a way that it elongates the eyes, or like I just mentioned, the lashes, the little wing in the corner. Hooded eyes. Now you're going to create a new crease slightly above your fold, and it's going to be like a matte color about 1 to 2 shades darker than your skin tone. So like maybe like for most of us, it'll be like a matte brown color. But think like contour brown, so something that's going to create a shadow. You're going to tight line, which a tight line, instead of having the liner go on your actual lid skin there, it's going to go under that waterline there. So it gives the illusion of the lashes being thicker without having to place the liner on your lid, which can take up some space from a hooded eye. And then you add a tiny wing upward, shimmer only on the mobile lid, the part that moves, and you're going to keep that crease matte so it stays lifted. Now, if you have a mono lid, you're going to build up from the lash line. So the deepest color is going to be as close to the lash line, and then you have a gradient going up. So you don't want a whole bunch of like dark color on a mono lid. You want like a nice gradient. Smudge the pencil, curl your lashes. You want to lift. You don't want to kind of droop down. You want lift. Now, if you have deep set eyes, your eyes already are doing their own like contour thing. So to bring the lids forward, you want a light to medium sheen on the lid, soft matte in the socket, and be careful with anything too dark in the crease because that's just going to make the eyes look further back. Because remember, anything dark, you know, kind of make things recede and look smaller, whereas something light makes something look bigger and, you know, more forward. Which brings us to the protruding eyes. You're basically going to do the opposite of the deep set. So you're going to use matte to recede, so something like dark and matte to make the eyes look less protruding. A deeper matte on the lid, smudgy liner, not too harsh, and you keep that lower lash line soft. If you have downturned eyes, the idea here is to lift the corner. So you would start your liner at the mid lid and flick up. Another way, again, you know, with the, what are those called again? I don't know why I can't think of it, but it's like a trio of lashes, and I guess sometimes they call it like a cat eye lash, where it kind of flicks up and, you know, turns the eye upward this way. So if you have downturned eyes, you can do that either with lashes or you can do it with your liner, starting it at the mid lid and flicking up. But you can also, you know, load up the mascara on the outer third of the eye, like just kind of go a little crazy. Now, if you have upturned eyes, you don't want to do too much because you already have that natural lift, so you just want to balance that lift. You already have like a natural cat eye kind of effect. You don't want to do too much to add more to that cat eye, so you're probably going to avoid like drawing the cat eye. You're going to avoid like that upturnedness with the lash. Unless you want to overemphasize it, then go in and let have. You can smoke the outer third a touch. You know, you want balance here. You don't want to do too much with like winging out the eye. You just want like a little soft balance. If you have close set eyes, you want to think about opening up the center. So you want lighter colors in the inner corners. You don't want to start your liner right here in the corner. That's just going to make the eyes look closer together. Instead, you want to start at the mid lid and then go out. You might want to do yourself a little cat eye to help elongate. And again, the cat eye doesn't necessarily have to be that liner. It could be the shape of your eyeshadow or the shape of your false lash, or if you want to go a little ham extra with the mascara, go in and let have. Now, if you have wide set eyes, you want to bring it in, and that's where you would line from the inner corner to the outer corner. You want to concentrate the shimmer towards the inner or center of the eye, and then you keep the outer corner softer. And if you happen to have almond eyes, consider yourself the blueprint. You just want to follow the natural shape of your eye. A soft wing, balanced top, a little shimmer in the center. Mwah. Now, these were all temporary because as soon as you go and wash your face, all your results are going to be washed down the drain. And for some people, that can be okay because it's like, all right, I'll just do it again when I'm ready. However, if you want something a little longer lasting, you want to check out this video here where I talk about everything that you can do to improve your eye area from $20 to $20,000, from an eye cream to eye surgery. Click on it here and I'll see you there.